Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to our first official lesson as a totally and completely flipped classroom. Remember, flipped classroom means that your homework, in the traditional sense of you going home and doing it, is to watch these videos, take notes, and learn the lesson. Which means in class, I won't be giving any lectures. I won't be, quote, teaching. But we will be doing more practice and working more in class. So your job is to make sure that you learn the lessons at home. You're taking your learning into your own hands. That's not to say that you can't come and ask me questions, or if you're confused you can't come see me. That's just to say that you get to go home in whatever environment helps you. You get to learn the lesson. You can stop it, rewind it if you don't understand what's going on. Watch it again and again and again. Watch it as many times as you want. I don't really care. What matters is that you at least watch it once and you take notes. Tomorrow in class, the first thing that I will do is walk by and check your notes, and you will be getting points for those notes. So please, 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 please make sure that you take notes. Otherwise, there's no way of knowing that you watch this video. Hopefully, as time goes on, the videos will be better and more interesting because I'm learning the program as I go. So please bear with me, and let's go ahead and get started. So to start off, we need to do a little review of what we were doing just before Christmas break. I know a lot of us have probably forgotten what we've done. So if you remember, we talked a lot about different forms of a line. We had two different forms we talked about. The first one was slope-intercept form. That was the one that was y equals mx plus b. Now, what do those letters stand for? Remember, slope-intercept form, so that means we have a slope and we have an intercept. Our slope in this case, and in all other cases, is always m. Now, slope, remember, is how steep the line is. It can be positive, it can be negative, and it'll be going downhill, or it could be flat, and that would have a zero slope, or if it was straight up and down, it would have an undefined slope. It just talks about how steep the line is. We also have the y-intercept. That is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Remember, we have our x-axis here, and our y-axis is up and down. So that y-intercept is the letter B in this instance. If we wanted to go and graph it, we would have maybe an equation like y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Our B would be -1. So in our y-axis, we would go to -1 and plot a point right there. Our slope, sorry, again, learning this program. Our slope is 1/2. Remember, slope is rise over run, so that means we're going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, and we'll have a point. Up 1, over 1, 2, and we'll have a point. You draw your line through, and that is how you graph slope-intercept form. The next form that we talked about is point-slope form. Point-slope form is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Now in this one, again, our slope is always m. We have point-slope form, so if m is our slope, the other letters must be our point. So our letters x1 and y1 will create a point, x1, comma, y1. So if we had the equation y minus 1 equals 2x plus 1, we would first look for our point. Remember, we do the opposite of whatever is there. So if our x1 is here and our y1 is here, our point will be negative 1, comma, 1. And remember, that's because it goes x, y, and you do the opposite of whatever is listed there. So even though y says minus 1, we're going to do a positive 1. And even though x says plus 1, over here, we're going to do a negative 1 because we do the opposite of whatever is there. So when we go to graph it, we'll plot that point. Negative 1 in our x value. Remember, x is your horizontal, y is your vertical. So we'll go negative 1 in the x, positive 1 in the y, and that will be our point right here. Then we go and we look at our slope. Slope is, in this problem, 2. We have to make it a fraction, so we'll call it 2 over 1, and that is our rise over our run. So when we work that out, we're going to go up 2 to the right 1 and plot a point there. Up 2 to the right 1, plot a point there. Draw your line through, and that is how you graph a line in point-slope form. Alright, so now on to the new stuff. If you're tired already and you're so overdoing math, pause it. Go on a run. Go dance. Go eat something. Have some tuna. Tuna's good for the brain. I don't really care what you do, but if you feel like you're not processing any more of the information, pause it, do something else, and come back to that. That's one of the beauties of doing the lesson this way. Anyways, continuing on, standard form. Again, this is just another equation of the line. Our equations of the line always have an x and a y, just like y equals mx plus b, or y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. It's always going to have an x and a y. They're just kind of organized differently. So the standard form in an equation is ax plus by equals c. Now, I know, again, why do we have to learn more and more equations and equations? Each one is useful for something. Slope-intercept form is useful when you have a slope and an intercept. Point-slope form is useful when you have a point and a slope. Standard form is also useful, but we use it when we are trying to find intercepts. Now, remember, an intercept is where the graph crosses the axis. So, if we look at this graph here, let's remember that our vertical axis, the one that goes up and down, that's our y. Our horizontal axis is the one that goes across. Now, our y-intercepts will be whichever points cross here at this vertical y-axis. Our x-intercepts will be whatever lines cross here at this horizontal x-axis. Using standard form, we can figure out what those points are. We can plot those 2 points. Then we can draw a line through those 2 points, and that will be the equation of our line. So, this next part, we'll talk about how to do that. So let's say we have the equation 2x plus 6y equals 24. So in order to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, we need to make one of the variables 0. Remember, horizontal axis is our x, vertical axis is our y. If I want to find the point that crosses here on my y-axis, what will the value of my x be? If your answer was 0, you are correct, because anything that is on this line here has a value of 0 in our x-axis. So, in order to find that value, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my x equal 0. 2 times 0 plus 6y equals 24. Let's work that problem out. 2 times 0 is 0, so we can ignore that. And we'll just be left with 6y equals 24. We know how to solve these equations. Divide by 6, divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So we have 1y equals 24 divided by 6, 4. So we've just found our y-intercept, and that is y equals 4. So right up here at 4 on our y-axis, we can plot our point. Next, we want to go through and we want to do the same thing, but we want to try to find our x-axis. So, since we're looking for our x value, any value that lies on this axis, what will the value of our y be? Well, again, if your answer is 0, you're correct, because anything that falls on this line will be 0. So let's go ahead and we'll work this out. 2x plus 6 times 0 equals 24. 6 times 0 is gone. 2x equals 24. And why is 6 times 0 gone? 6 times 0 is 0, so we don't need to worry about it anymore. We'll divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we just have that 1x. 24 divided by 2, that'll be 12. So x equals 12 will be probably about over here. Didn't really. And then once you have your 2 points make a line. So we can draw our line through. And that is how you graph a line in standard form. Again, if you're confused on that, pause it, rewind it, double check it, make sure that you can really understand what and why we did what we did. Now, my goal is to keep these videos short and sweet. I'm sorry that this one's a little longer. I had to do a bit of explaining. So just hold with me. Again, if you're exhausted, pause it, go do something, pet your dog, tie your shoes, organize your closet, go play some basketball. I don't know what you do in your free time, but do whatever and come back to this. But don't forget to come back to it. Couple more things we need to go over. Anytime you have a graph that maybe is x equals 1, or it could even be something like y equals negative 3. Those equations also represent lines. Remember, our horizontal axis is always our x-axis. Our vertical axis is always our y-axis. When we have an equation that says x equals 1, that means that no matter what y is, no matter what happens, x is always going to equal 1. So when you draw your line in there, it's going to be right here at, oops, should get my pen, right here at x is 1, and it'll just be a line that goes straight up and down, because no matter what y is, x will always, always, always be 1, which is represented by that line there. Y equals negative 3. It's the same thing. No matter what our x value is, y will always be negative 3. So when we draw our line in, we're going to go down here to negative 3, and it will be a horizontal line like that. Because no matter what the value of x is, ever, y is always going to be here at negative 3. So that's just something important to remember. And the final thing that you'll need to do is sometimes they will give you equations in a different form, and you'll need to manipulate it and change it so that it could be standard form. For example, they may give us y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. Now you may notice that this is y equals mx plus b. M is slope, b is intercept, so that must be slope-intercept form. But it wants us to write it in standard form, so we're going to have to do some manipulating if we want to get it to look the correct way. I'm going to write my equation off to the side so I can remember exactly what I'm trying to make it look like. ax plus by equals c. So, I know first things first, I need to try to get my x over to the side here. So since it's a negative 2 over 3x, I'm going to add 2 over 3x. And you have to do that to both sides. Add 2 over 3x. That's going to give us 2/3 x plus y equals 3. Now, one little thing that I didn't mention at the beginning was that whenever we're using standard form, we don't want to have fractions anywhere in the equation when you're trying to create it. Okay, so I want to get rid of this fraction. A lot of you guys should be happy because you guys all freak out every time you see fractions and you hate fractions. And that's okay. Standard form is the form for you. So we're going to go ahead and we'll get rid of our fractions here. In order to get rid of this 3 down on the bottom, remember that's like 2 divided by 3. So to undo division, I have to multiply. But when I'm multiplying, I have to multiply every single little part by 3. So I'll multiply this part here by 3. I'll multiply this part here by 3. And I'll multiply this part at the end by 3. When I do that, our 3's cancel out and we get 2x plus 1y times 3 would be 3y equals 3 times 3, 9. So when I'm writing it in that form, my final answer will be 2x plus 3y equals 9. So I hoped you liked doing the lesson that way. Again, like I said, my goal is to keep them less than 10 minutes. I'm sorry this one was so long. Go ahead and give me some feedback. If you go up on my big campus, you can go ahead and post something to me. Let me know, hey, I really liked this. Hey, I didn't like this. This isn't working for me. Just let me know what you think. Because after all, it's about you guys and what works for you. I hope that this shortens your homework time and makes doing math a little easier. Remember, have notes, bring them to class. And as a goodbye, I'm going to randomly go to this app that distributes corny jokes and pick one for you. Alright, what did the football coach say to the broken vending machine? Anyone? Anyone? Give me my quarterback! Ha! Knee slapper. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, depending on how ahead you are.